Vagini Vyomavad Vyapta Dehaya Dakshina Murtaye Namaha. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Sri Gurubhyo Namaha Hari Om. So we were going, what are these 15 steps to Samadhi as per the Vedantic style? So all these 15 steps, we are going one by one. What is Yama? What is Niyama? All that we were discussing one. And what is Tyaga? Tyaga is not leaving home. But Tyaga is Prapancha Rupasya Chidatmatvo Valokanat. So you see the whole Sansara and Prapancha is essentially a Vivarta, is a projection of the Brahman. And similarly, Yasmad Vaso Nivartante Aprapya Manasasaha Yana Maunam Yogi Viragamyam Tad Bhavet Sarvada Buddha. Then he defines in couple of verses and Maunam, and then three kinds of Maunam we had already discussed in the last class. One is the first thing, that it's not possible to describe the Brahman in words. That is one condition as to why words are fruitless and you turn silent. You turn to the divine and you are not trying to indulge in wordy description or articulation of what is truth. That is one level. The second one is, neither is the sansara describable because this is anirvachaniya, neither sat nor asat. Vacho yasman nivartante tadvaktum kena sakyate. Who can describe Brahman? Prapancho yadi vaktabyah sopi sabda vivarjitah. And if somebody thinks that he can describe, he can somewhere describe prapancha or sansara, that is also sabda vivarjita, because it is again a futile attempt to describe what we see in the dream. It's not real. You are trying to capture it in words. Similarly, even though we presume that the sansara that we see is kind of real, we kind of presume that it is kind of real, but it's actually not real. And then finally, the ultimate definition of maunam is internal quietude. So you are internally silent. Silent is not absence of words, but silence is establishment of the mind in the ultimate truth. So he's saying, Itiva tad bhavet maunam sada sahaja sangitam satam. Of the people who are saintly, who are established in the truth, satam, sahaja, that is that sahaja sthiti. Gira maunam tuvalanam. And there is this akara mauna and kastha mauna. Kastha mauna is internal, external, both. You are not speaking within or outside. Akara mauna is just external physical silence. You may be thinking about a lot of things. Saying both these are gira maunam, not speaking, to balanam prayuktam brahmavadivihi. So what is described as maunam in the Yoga Shastra is actually, it's compared to the futile attempts or the preliminary attempts made by the sadhakas to experience silence by maintaining physical silence or verbal silence. And this is a very, very preliminary thing. And the wise, the Brahmavadis, they know that this is not sufficient. It's a necessary condition, maybe sometimes. It is not sufficient condition. We have gone beyond that. Then what is the desha, vivikta desha sevitvam, adavante samadhyecha, yano yasmin navidyate. Not in the beginning, not in the middle, not in the end. Where people don't exist. Why? Because the Brahman, the sansara, is just a projection. Fundamentally, it doesn't exist. Therefore, he's saying, Yenaidam satatam vyaptam, that Brahman by which everything is pervaded. Idam sarvata satatam vyaptam, sa deso vijanaha smitaha. That is without any loka. The Chauda Brahmanda, Bhurhuva, Swaha, Mahajanaha, Tapa, Satyam, all that we mentioned. Atala, Vitala, Sutala, Talatala, Mahatala, Rasatala, Patala, all seven lokas below. All these Chauda Bhuvans, 14 levels of existence, these are, yes, they are there, Vyavaharika. Fundamentally, are they real? Fundamentally, they are not real. That is why they are not ultimately real. Phenomenally, they are real. Therefore, what is the proper desa for meditation? Desa is not going to a cave. Desa is not buying a property, on a hillside or next to a river or next to a water body with a beautiful garden, and then I'll be able to meditate. He's saying, no, that is not the place where you can find peace and you can find stability in your meditation. Then where can I find? He's saying, let me tell you, that Brahman, which is not visible to the eye, which you cannot feel, if you are able to establish yourself there, that is Vijana Deshaha. That is Vivikta Desha Sevitvam will be fundamentally successful only there. That means you can be inside your family. You can, of course, you see, this is for the highest order of sadhakas. So we know what is the essential meaning of what is a real place for meditation. It is not external material place. It is that Brahma Vastu on which you have to establish yourself. That only will give us ultimate peace. We might go and sit in a cave, and I was told yesterday, a lot of these monks in Badrinath and Kedarnath, it's quite shocking, but quite a few of them I heard, well, who live alone, and you have antisocial elements and drug addicts and drunkards looking for money. Sometimes, under suspicion, they go and attack and kill one of these monks, thinking that they may be having a lot of money with them. So the world has turned topsy turvy. It's not even safe. You cannot go and live in a jungle and expect that you I'm not doing anything to anyone. No, but they might suspect you may have money. They may be drug addicts. They may be drunkards. They may come and attack you. There may not be enough safety. They may be wild animals. The best place to meditate is not a cave, an isolated place, even though fundamentally that is how it is described. Even in Bhagavad Gita, in all the Yoga Sastras, that you need some physical isolation. But it's a necessary condition, not a sufficient condition. The real condition for internalization of the ultimate truth is to find that pure land, which is Brahman. And what is Kala now? Verse number 111, which we had finished in the previous class. Kalana sarva bhutanam brahmadinam nimeshataha kala savdena nirdishto yakhandananda advayaha. What is the time then? Again, time is, somebody will say Brahma Muhurta, you wake up early in the morning, or they do Srikala Sandhya, or in the middle of the day, or you try to do it in the evening, sometimes at midnight. They give you different times. If you do some upasanas during solar eclipse or lunar eclipse, they say you get a lot of spiritual benefits. And in the Tantras, there is a specific mention that whether it's a Astami, and then that should be a Tuesday, or it could be the 14th day of the lunar month, or it could be what do you call the new moon night. Again, that also is very good. New moon night, you can quickly get a lot of spiritual benefit. So they mention all these things. But the Vedanti says, no, that's not how the auspicious time is there. Do you know what is auspicious time? Then he's saying, why don't you look at what Bhagavan had said in the Bhagavad Gita? And what had he said in the Bhagavad Gita? You remember, he had said something. In the 11th chapter, in the 32 verse, Bhagavan had said, Kaloshmi lokakhya krita prabuddho lokan samahartam iha pravrittaha. Kaloshmi, I am that ultimate time. Lokakhya krita, when everything comes to an end, pralaya. Prabuddho lokan samahartam pravrittaha. Bhagavan is saying, I don't know what is your pravriti. Arjuna is saying, Bhagavan is saying, do you know why I am here? This is my pralaya rupa. Ritepi tvang na bhavishyanti. Whether you fight or not, these people are not going to be there, because you already saw. Sarve ye avastitaha pratyanikesu yodhaha. All these fighters, the people who are, willing to wage a battle with you in this great Mahabharata war, you saw their future in my Vishwarupa. They are not going to be there. And similar in Kathopanishad is saying, Yasya Brahma cha Kshetram cha Ubhe Bhavata Odanaha Mrityuhu Yasya Upasechanam Ka Ittha Veda Yatra Saha. It's a very mystical statement. He's saying the Brahmins and the Kshatriyas, who are the two prominent social groups or categories, we're talking about a certain historical, sociological context. He's saying, look, they are the rise. of this kala. They think they think we are in control of society. They are food for this Mahakala. And this Mahakala consumes that rice with some chutney powder. Do you know what is that chutney powder? Death. So mrutyuhu yasya upasechanam. That upasechanam. So you mix some chutney with rice and you take it. So that is what is death. So with that particular, it's like a condiment or it's like a spicy condiment that you are mixing with rice to take it. So he consumes these people. So all of us will be consumed, isn't it? Therefore, he's saying Kalana Sarvabhutanam Brahmadinam Nimesataha Kala Sabdena Nirdishto Hyakhandananda Advayaha. So in the commentary, he writes Nimesataha Arambaha Kalanat Sargasthiti Pralaya Adharatvad Ityarthaha Shesham Svashtam. So whether it is the Pralaya Kala, Sthiti Kala, or Srishti Kala, the period of creation, the period of sustenance, the period of destruction, what are the fundamental substance? It's like tiny waves and water bubbles. They appear and disappear on the water mass and the ocean. That is the fundamental reality. The appearance and disappearance and bubbles are just kind of apparent. They are transient, they're ephemeral. They are like flashes in the pan. They are both real and unreal. They appear real only so far as you look at them, and then they disappear. That is what is being explained here. So that is Kala. So both Desa and Kala, it's not about any particular time or any particular location. The Brahman is beyond space and time, and that is the ultimate foundation of both time and space. That is what he is mentioning in two verses. So, what is the best time? Brahman. What is the best location? Brahman. Because it has no location, it has no time. So, you have to establish yourself there for meditation. Then, asana. Sthiram Sukham Asanam. Patanjali Yoga Sutra, that you have to be in a comfortable position to do meditation because it's Yama, Niyama, Asana, Pranayama. So, we are reaching in their Ashtanga Yoga. So, asana, how the Vijnani or how this particular person, Desa also is intelligence or this Jnana Swarupa, Brahman. Kala also is that particular thing, realizing that eternity of the truth of our existence and focusing there. And then what is asana? It's not about doing Padmasana or Sirsasana. What is it he's mentioning? Sukhe neva bhavedi yasmin ajasram brahma chintanam asanam tadvijaniyat netara sukhanasanam. He's making fun of these asanas. Of course, these asanas are health-wise very good, but the Vedanta is making fun of them. You know why? Shankaracharya is saying these are all external gains. So, if you pay a good amount of money and you join one of these courses in Rishikesh, they have this international yoga alliance, and you can be part of it. And then they will tell you that if you join them, so they will give you a degree. They will do accreditation that you have done this course and you can become a yoga teacher. So they have teacher training programs. Then you can also hold different kinds of programs. And Sankaracharya is twisting it and he's saying, no, no. Sukhena eva bhavet yasmin. That location, that place, that posture, that state of affairs of yourself, of the Vijnanamaya Kosha, of your Manamaya Kosha, when you are doing your spiritual practice, Sukhena eva bhavet yasmin. That place or time or location of state where bhavet ajasram brahma chintanam. It's easy for you to meditate on the Brahman. That means Brahmakara Vritti. There are two words in this Vedantic meditation. One is Vritti Vyapti, the other one is Phala Vyapti. I have mentioned that earlier. When I look at this pen, the Vedantic process of epistemology explains that first, the Vijnanamaya Kosha, my consciousness, is taking the shape of this pen. it's surrounding, it's pervading this particular object. So the avarana, the ignorance about this pen vanishes. Avarana is removed. And then what happens is this particular shape is reflected in my chidabhasa or my brain or my mind, and then I'm naming it as a pen. The first is removal of ignorance about the pen, where the consciousness wraps it up. Then it's reflected in my mind and I see it, and then I give it a name, right? So that is phala vyapti. Phala vyapti. There is a result of this vyapti, or this surrounding this particular object through my consciousness, through my sense organs. In case of Brahma Chintanam, there is vritti vyapti. We will think about Brahman with your antakarana, abhinnataya. So dhyana, dhyatri dhyane parityajya. Okay, so dheyakara vritti happens after that. So dhyata and dhyana, those two elements are kind of discarded. They're kind of subsumed in the proliferating appearance, that luminous appearance of the dheya vastu, the object of your meditation. So you're meditating on Brahman, you're meditating on God. That becomes the predominant presence of your consciousness. You vanish, your meditation practice vanishes. That means only that is the kind of samadhi we are talking about. And here what he's saying, asana is a means of reaching Nirvikalpa Samadhi in Patanjali Yoga Sutra. We have studied that in the 6th chapter in Bhagavad Gita, in Madhusudana Saraswati's commentary. You have this, Savitarka Samadhi, Nirvitarka Samadhi, Savichara Samadhi, Nirvichara Samadhi. Then you have Sananda Samadhi, and you have Sasmita Samadhi. All that we have studied. There are different levels. It becomes subtler and subtler, the object of meditation. But ultimately, you go to a state where you are no more meditating on something. You don't even exist. Only that pure consciousness remains, and it's niralamba. It's not dependent on anything. In Vedanta, it is dheyakara vritti, brahmakara vritti. It's not that there is nothing. It's not chitta vritti nirodha. No, it's brahmakara chitta vritti. And then ultimately this chitta vritti also gets destroyed. Like you brought some wood, and with the wood you try to, and you lit a fire, and the fire destroys the cause, which whatever dry woods that you had collected. Similarly, the dheyakara vritti, which is the penultimate state of self-realization, when the self-realization takes place, what remains? The Brahman only. That luminosity. You don't exist, your meditation doesn't exist, nothing exists. That vritti also doesn't exist, that also gets destroyed. But that is the last moment, beyond which there's nothing. Will that fellow die? Is he going to come back to senses? Of course, he will come back to senses. He'll come back to senses and he will again have Vithana Dasa, he'll teach his students. But once he's there, he'll never ever get dissociated from that truth. He's permanently there till the very last moment of his body. He knows that truth. He's firmly established there. So here asana is not physical posture, which in Patanjali Yoga Sutra, there are different postures you do to manipulate your consciousness. So there Vedanta is very close to Buddhism. Buddhism, the Anapanasati or the Vipassana meditation, they don't pay any attention to asana and all. Yeah, good posture is fine. There are few postures, but they don't do too much of manipulation of their consciousness. They're saying you rather watch your consciousness. Don't try to manipulate it by doing pranayama and this and that, because you are constantly engineering a state of happiness, and that will not be permanent. It's important for you to be aware of the nature of your consciousness. Very close to Vedanta. We go one step further. We said be aware of the nature of consciousness not as a process of your brain, but as the ultimate reality. That is the ultimate reality which is going to liberate us. So he's saying then, what is asana? Asana is not physical posture. Of course, physical posture we have to do, but that is a necessary condition, not a sufficient condition. And what the teacher is explaining us, Sukhe neva bhavid yasmin. There where, without much effort, without much discomfort or stress, you are able to have the experience of Brahmakar Vritti. You are finding it easy to meditate on the Brahman. That is the best asana. Asanam tad vijaniyat netarat sukhanasanam. Not the other one which destroy your peace because you are stretching your leg and you're sitting very tight. We are not refuting the usefulness of these asanas. Like, but you look at all the great self-realized people. Thakur Ramakrishna Paramahansa. Did he practice too many asanas? Not much. You can see that he's just nicely sitting like a little boy. You look at Ramana Maharshi, he used to lie in a very lazy posture. Look at Buddha also. He used to lie down, sleeping Buddha. That was a meditative pose. Similarly, many of these, you look at Trailanga Swami, the pictures, he was very unhealthy looking, very fat. But then what? Thakur came, saw him. He didn't even go to Kashi Vishwanath. He returned from there, which is about 3-4 kilometers away from the temple. He returned from there. If you go to Trailanga Swami's ashram in Kashi, you will see pictures of Thakur who visited there, hugged him. He said, Shivji ka darshan ho gaya, now I'll go back. I don't need to go to the temple, it's a crowded place. I have met the real Shiva here. So my purpose is fulfilled. I'm going back. But was he a very athletic person and was very disciplined with his physical postures? No. This is not undermining asana, but this is a conceptual understanding of what is asana. That is one definition. That is 112. Asanam lakhyati sukhena eva iti. Yasmin sukhe sukharupe brahmani. Yasmin sukhe. So sukhe is not stiram sukham asanam. He's saying that ananda, sachidananda swarupa. Yasmin sachidananda swarupe brahmani chintanam. Kartabya chinta naiva bhavet. What you should do, what you shouldn't do, but naturally, spontaneously, your whole consciousness is oriented towards Brahman. Tad brahmasanam bijanyat iti anvayaha. Kidrisha Brahma, what is that? Ajasra kalatraya avastha ityarthaha. Ajasram. So it's past, present, future. Susupti, Jagrat, Swapna, at all times you are firmly established there. Then there is another verse, an extension of it, verse number 113, where he's talking about asana vishesha, a special mention about what is asana. That is mentioning there. Siddham yat sarva bhutadi vishwadhishtanam avyayam yasmin siddha samavistas tadvai siddhasanam viduhu. You know what is siddhasana, right? So you have Padmasana, when you are twisting your legs like this, and you're sitting. The easiest way, if you want to actually do meditation on the yogi gurus, because I had some knee problem, he gave me a good advice. He said, these book stands, you hold like this, right? He said, you settle your ankles like that, then your knees will be like this, but they'll be in a fairly comfortable position, balancing out each other. And you should try to practice and sit for about 40 minutes. Don't stretch it if you have knee problems. And he said that you stretch and try to sit in a comfortable, upright position. That's what Bhagavan advises. All the yogic sciences advise. In this chapter 6, we have read that. And Siddhasana is putting one leg and then you have another leg and you're sitting straight. Siddhasana. Then you have Padmasana. All kinds of asanas are there. Here he's saying, no. Siddhasana is twisting the meaning of it because he wants to emphasize the conceptual aspect, the jnana aspect of asana, Siddhasana. It's not about a certain posture. Siddhanam asana, Siddhasana. The Siddhas, the self-realized people, where are they established? In Padmasana? No. They're established in the Brahman all the time. Whether they're sitting in Padmasana, they are walking, they're drinking, they're sleeping, they're always in Brahman. That is the asana we are talking about. And he's saying, Siddham yat sarva bhutadi viswadhishtanam avyayam. That is the Siddham. So that is the established thing he's saying. And he's saying, prasangat asana vishesam lakhyayati siddhamiti siddham cha tad asanam cha. That is siddhasanam. Siddham is that Brahman. And when you are established there, that is siddhasanam. Athava siddhanam asanam, or the asana of the self-realized. It's not about physical posture, but it is endurance of the consciousness without any distraction, firmly, quietly, sustainably, in and always in the Brahman. That is what he's mentioning. Siddhasanamidhi. And so this is very simple verse. Siddham yat sarva bhutadi. That particular thing which is the foundation. Adhishtanam avyayam. And there is no kshaya, there is no vyaya. This particular Brahman doesn't undergo any vikara, any metamorphosis. It doesn't lose any good qualities because the sansara is created. That is Yasmin Siddha Samavishtas. And again, where the self-realized ones are all the time established, Tadve Siddhasanam Viduhu. The wise men know that is to be the Siddhasana, not the physical posture. Then we know about Mula Bandha. That is also one yogic practice. Do you know what is Mula Bandha? There are different it is taught in yoga, also in tantra, and especially in certain techniques. The Aghoris also do it. So what they do is Mula Bandha is very simple. Is that technique is when you are sitting on a posture, you try to sort of restrict the anus orifice. You just try to restrict it, and that is a yogic practice. That yogic practice also, some people say that it has a relationship. It's a kind of muscular exercise, and if you do it, they say that it has also kind of something to do with your, to deal with certain deformities or dysfunctionalities in your sexual behavior. It also cures it. And so there are a lot of people saying a lot of things. Mulabandha is kind of closing the orifice when you are sitting in meditation. Mulabandha. And then that is what it's saying. Yanmulam sarva bhutanam, yanmulam chitta bandhanam, mula bandha sada sebhyo, yog, yogyo saurayo yoginam, raja yoginam, yanmulam sarva bhutanam. So mula sabda is here twice. And you have to make sense of it in two different ways. The first mulam is mulam, yat, yan. It becomes, because there is a ma, the ta will become na. So yat moolam sarva bhutanam, which is the foundation, the origin of all the bhuta varga. Stavara jangama, what is that? Brahman. So that is the first word, mula. Yan moolam chitta bandhanam. What is the, our mind is enslaved by what? We have lots of wrong understandings of sansara, and we are in bondage. For what? We've studied that in Bhagavad Gita. Dhyayoto Vishayan Pungsha Sangasteshu Pajayate. Starts, the attachment starts. Then from attachment, there is raga. From raga not fulfilled, then you have krodha. Then you had what? Then you have smriti vibhrama. Your anaitika behavior starts, and then you have sammoha. Then buddhinasa. Then buddhinasat pranashyati ultimately. All that has been explained to us. How a person degenerates from one level to the other. It all starts with Dhyayoto Vishayan Pungshaha. Start thinking about something. Why do you think about something? Sansara is all delusional. Why do you think that is real? Because Ajnana. That is called Mula Jnana. So then there is a concept of Mula Jnana and Tula Jnana. Mula Jnana is that original Ajnana out of which the Sansara is all created. So that is the beginning of this whole thing. It's Anadi. It doesn't have a beginning. Ignorance has no beginning. It's like you don't know quantum mechanics and you studied quantum mechanics. When the ignorance of quantum mechanics started to influence you, no, it's Anadi. You didn't know it. You got to know quantum mechanics today. Until today, you didn't know. So since when you did not know? I don't know since when I didn't know. I didn't know till today. When it started, the ignorance, no, it has no beginning. So he's saying that mula jnana yanmulam chitta bandhanam, the cause of the bondage of our consciousness, of our mind. Mula bandha sadasevyo. Now, is the ignorance or maya or avidya having independent existence in Vedantic philosophy? No, it cannot. Why? Sadeva Samya Idamagra Asit Ekameva Dvitiyam. They cannot be two. So the Brahman, the Maya, what we call Maya or Vidya or ignorance, is established is only in Brahman only. It is Brahman Ashrita only. Of course, some people say it is Jiva Ashrita. So Ajnana, and anyway, that's a complicated philosophical issue. What is Ajnana? Adhara or Ashraya and Vishaya. So Jiva becomes Ashraya and Vishaya becomes Brahma, means ignorant of Brahman. Who is ignorant of Brahman? The Jiva. So it is there in the Jiva. But somebody will say Jiva and Sansara is created out of Ajnana. How can Ajnana stay in its own work? So there is some Vedantic debates. There are different schools of thought. We are not entering there. But this avidya or Maya or Ajnana is also Ashrita and Brahman. So why it's all Ashrita and Brahman? I'm very confused. They said, no, as a human being, from your perspective, all these are concepts to be discussed. Brahman actually is not related with any of these. Brahman in itself is not interested in anything. It's that pure consciousness. Because we are struggling to make sense of it, we are inventing different concepts to deal with it. That is how it works in very simple terms. So the mulagyana or ignorance cannot have independent existence. So it is also there in Brahman. Brahman is there. Maya is also there. Maya and Brahman together, they become Ishwar, right? And then they create this whole samsara. The Jadu, where is the Jadu? Jadu is in Jadugan only. Can the Jadu exist outside of the Jadugar? No. Jadu exists only in Jadugar. Jadu is false. Why are we calling it Jadu? For Jadugar, Jadu is not Jadu. For the magician, magic, there's no magic. It's a hand tricks. He's doing it. So for us, it's illusion. And therefore, the illusion rests in the illusionist. Easy to understand. Similarly, Maya or Avidya rests in Brahman. For us, the magic is confounding. For Brahman, makes no sense. For the magician or illusionist, illusion makes no sense. He knows the trick. For us, big time mental confusion, wonder. So he's saying, Yanmulam sarvabhutanam yanmulam chitta bandhanam. The ajnana and so the magic and the magician both is what? The Brahman. Mula bandha sadasevyo. That, being able to establish yourself there. Mula bandha sadasevyo yogya asau raja yoginam. If you're a Raja Yogi, a Raja Yogi is what? The Patanjali Yoga Sutras, those who practice it. They are called Raja Yoga, the royal path, as Swami Vivekananda used to refer to it. He's saying if you are an ardent and adept practitioner of this Raja Yoga, ask yourself, are you being able to hold your attention? Are you being able to meditate on the Brahman successfully? With all these yama, niyama, pranayama, pratyahara, dhyana, dharana, samadhi, what is the big game if you are not able to establish yourself in Brahman? That is the fundamental question. Therefore, he's saying, Mula bandham lakshayati yan moolamiti akasadi sarvabhutanam yan moolam adi karanam tad brahma eva. What is the beginning, the initial cause of this whole sansara? It's Brahman. That is first mula. And then he's saying, Tatha chitta bandhanam chittasya bandha karanam. Our mind gets caged, imprisoned, in bondage. Why? Mula jnanam, and that tadapi yan moolam, and that particular mula jnanam is having the root in, it is the root of our confusion. What? Ignorance. And ignorance has its roots where? It has its roots in Brahman only. Magic, illusion has its roots in the magician or the illusionist. Yan milam tadasraya, that is Brahmasraya. Then he's saying, Pruthak satta sunyatvad ityataha, because Maya or ignorance cannot have independent existence. Magic cannot exist independent of the magician, as Thakur used to say. Yadva chittasya bandhanam ekatra lakshya nigraha tadapi yanamulam. Then you have this chitta, if you control it, discipline it. And then finally you are establishing in the Brahman, tadapi yanamulam saha brahmanam prapti nimitam ityarthaha. So are you being able to establish yourself in you do a lot of discipline of your mind. For what? You bind up your mind, you discipline it. But are you fundamentally able to establish yourself in Brahman? That is his question. Samoolavandha iti anvayah rajayoginam vyavahare api abhikshipta chitta chittata lakshana. What is that rajayoginam? The minds who are not anymore susceptible, vulnerable to distractions. You're free from distractions. You are a great Raja Yogi. Now the next step, meditate on the Brahman. Sa Moolavandha iti anvayaha. Raja Yogoho Tadvatam, the guy who has mastered Raja Yoga, Jnana Paripaka Yuktanam. So your understanding of Yoga Sastra or yogic science has matured, has ripened, and you are not satisfied anymore with a materialistic or physicalistic understanding of this whole science of yoga as a psychophysical manipulation of your brain processes. You're not happy with it. You know that's all fine, but you recognize that is an initial preparation. The real thing starts when your mind is able to see the truth about Brahman. All these puja, patha, upasana, these are all useful. Nothing wrong about it. These are all good. These are all preparatory stages. But the real game starts. It's like, we do a lot of, you play a lot of these test games, right? Before a final match. It's like you'll see that in table tennis. Like people play a lot of games. And then you have the tournament. And then you lose the game there. Because the kind of mind which is required to win the match is different from the kind of, you're relaxed. You're practicing with your mates and you smash and you do the wonderful spin and you win and you're excellent. But you don't have that thing to win the match. Sometimes it happens. And sometimes somebody may not be very keen on these practice sessions. Good, but they're wonderful when it comes to the match temperament. Both the kinds of people are there. So he's talking about this ability to establish yourself in fundamentally, if you have a ripe or you have a matured understanding of the science of yoga, yoga is not about a psychophysical manipulation of your brain process. It's about establishing your consciousness in that ultimate truth, which is again consciousness. And all these are preliminary steps, but he's giving it a jnana twist to everything. Now, there is a prativandhaka in Patanjali Yoga Sutra, we had done it, called anga mejatvam. When you're all anavastiti, that's also a prativandhaka. When you are not being able to firmly sit in a position without any vibration or any trembling and stuff like that. Because all these things happen means you can't meditate. So they give a lot of importance to have a proper thing, and whether this person is moving, is he fidgety, is he restless, they watch. Even in Buddhist meditations, they pay a lot of attention to that. Are you able to sit without any distraction? And they don't say it's a physical problem. They think this is a problem of your consciousness. And that is the beauty of this whole approach. So he's saying, now Deha Samya is one of the steps here. Having a stability of your body. Again, yogi will look at it as a physical posture. The Vedanti will look at it as again establishing yourself in a mode of connectivity with the Brahman where you have equanimity within, equilibrium within. That's what he's going to say. Anganam samatad vidyat sami brahmani liyate no chenneva samanatvam vijitvam suska brikshavat anganam samatam vidyat sami brahmani liyate. Anganam samatam, deha samyan. Your hands and legs and all limbs should be perfectly in balance. Do you know what is it? Same brahmani liyate. No, Chet, if you are not being able to dissolve your consciousness in the Brahman, you can do 101 postures. You can sit in tight positions for hours and then wake up and have same disturbance. Why? Your mind is not waking up to that illumination of the self. When the mind doesn't wake up to the illumination of the self, there is no breaking away from your predicament. I'm telling you, there is a revolutionary truth in it. lot of us go to gym. So sometimes you are restless, sometimes you are very lazy. The tamas has to taken over. You go to the gym. Somebody has a breakdown in a relationship. Somebody has a problem in workplace. People do different kinds of things. Some people will go to drink. Some people go to see a movie. Somebody will go on a long drive, and some people go to the gym. Some people get into yoga, so they do these hard exercises. They are fighting something. They are restless. They are trying to run away from it. Where is the problem? The problem is within our minds. What is triggering some depression, some anxiety, some stress? And we have to, of course, avoiding is fine. You have to avoid to survive, because otherwise you can't cope with it. You may break down. This is all fine. Mind can slowly cope with it. But you have to internally go there and see the truth and resolve it. Now, the psychiatrists, the counselors, the so-called expert psychologists, they will have different theories and try to solve it at your level. The Vedanti will come and say, don't you worry, this is all a joke. Why don't you see the ultimate truth? These are just delusional. You are none of these thoughts, you are none of these anxieties and terrible depressions that you think you're suffering. You are not suffering. You just have a mental state. Let's come out of it. And that is how he will reorient you. There's a beautiful statement I had read in Kierkegaard. He has written a beautiful sentence. He said, I was always depressed and shocked and bewildered watching a large shadow of mine. And then one fine morning, I turned back and saw the sun. It's like you are in a dark room and there is a light coming from a source. And then you are not looking at the light. So, what will you look at? If I don't look at the light, what do I look at? I look at the shadow of my body because the light is just behind me. I see the shadow. And then he says, then I turned back and I saw the light. That is the Vedantic approach, and that is what he's saying. Deha Samyam. He's saying Anganam Samadam Vidyat Same Brahmani Liyate. No ched naiva samanatvam. Then you don't get balance. The secret of ultimate balance of your body, of your mind, of your consciousness, in how well you are established in the Brahman. Your Brahmakar Vritti. You can try for a while, just as a thought experiment. You can just walk, you can do that exercise. When you're taking a evening walk tomorrow, you can take the walk and you just think about the Brahman, and you watch all the boys and girls playing in the park, you watch the cars passing by you, look at the trees and plants and everything, and you just walk. You'll feel a deep eerie silence within you. The more and more you see, you compare all that you see as a dream. Just do an experiment. Just do it for 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, and you see how the mind is slowly becoming very alert. But this is an alertness without entrapment in any thoughts. And that is what he's saying. Anganam samatam vidyat same brahmani liyante noche neva samanatvam richitvam suska vrikshavrata. You know, you must have purchased vegetables. So you buy you purchase a sapling to plant it in your garden. And then what happens after some time, if you don't water it or you forget to plant it, what happens? It'll get twisted, it'll get wrinkled, it'll dry up. That's what I'm saying. Rijitvam suska vrikshavata. The same tree, which looks lively and beautiful and green, when it dries up, it looks very twisted and it's like that, it falls off. That is what he's mentioning. In the Tika, he says, Anganam Brahmani Adhyasthanam Swabhava Visamanam. Our Prakriti, different states of our mind, is a work of the Trigunatmika Maya, Sattva, Tamas, and Rajas. So there are different ways in which the mind appears, and it entertains a lot of thoughts, desires, engagements, and all that. And what is the foundation of all this? That Pratyak Chaitanya, that pure consciousness. Adhisthanam, that is Samatva Drishtya Samatam Vidyat Janyat Chet Same Brahmani. So you can establish yourself. If you see all these are happening, all these diverse states of mind, states of your body are ultimately an expression, an inverted expression and projection of that perfect, silent, luminous truth called the Brahman. And then he's saying, Anga Vaishamyam iti atra adhyaharaha. Anga Vaishamya or Anga Mejatva, whatever you're saying, Anga Vaishamya. So you are free from it. Tachet no liyate sama brahma rupataya na tishtati ityarthaha. So if you are able to do that, then you don't have your balance getting lost. You're firmly established there. Tari, then he's saying that Suska Vrikshavat Anganam Rijitvam Saralatvam Achanchalatvam Cha Yat Tat Samanatvam Na Eva Bhavet Iti Samandaha. He's saying, look here, Deha Samya don't compare with a banyan tree which has dried up, leaves have gone, and it's shrunken, and the branches have fallen off. Finally, what does it look like from a distance? It's like a stump. You look at, so if you have a forest fire, after some time the leaves and everything have gone, it's all dry. So you look at a large tree, big tree, it's standing like a pillar with branches gone and stuff like that. Is it what is Deha Samyatva? That is a completely materialistic, externalistic presumption of what is balance of your body. The real game is in the domain of consciousness, not in the domain of your blood circulation, your body, your bones, your muscles, your brain processes. No, it's beyond that. It's in the domain of consciousness, in the domain of truth, and we have to make an entry into that. Then he's saying, and this particular thing, Rijutvam here, Rijutva, that particular thing, Saralatva, like a dry piece of wood, that is not what is the Deha Samyatva. That means you should not confuse this. You shouldn't confuse the establishment of Brahman, which gives you complete equanimity, with a lesser good in the form of stability of your limbs when you are sitting in a meditative posture. It's very little, it's very preliminary accomplishment. It's good to have so that you can do meditation. It's actually not a mean achievement, I tell you, because if you're doing pranayama or meditation, that is a major achievement in the preliminary stages. But for a Vedanti, the real destination is not that. It's just a means to a greater end, and the greater end is to establish our consciousness in the Brahman. Then he's talking about drishti, that is the next one. Drishti is the drik, drishya viveka. He's mentioning what is the drishti. Idanim drik sthitim lakhyati. What is that drik sthiti? What should be the state of the seer? You are the seer, you are watchful, you are the Sakhi Chaitanya. He's explaining that. Drishtim jnanamayim kritva पश्येद ब्रह्ममयम जगत जगत सा दृष्टि परमोदारा न नासाग्रावलोकिनी. So there are certain interesting postures in yoga. You must have also read some books. So they would say in Bhagavad Gita also, you have studied, that you sit in a posture. Interestingly, Shankaracharya himself has commented on it. So you sit in an upright posture. And some people do this practice of trying to look at your Agya Chakra with your eyes, so they will twist your eyes and stuff like that. Some people say that you try to look here, sit tight, and you try to look at this position, and then your mind will become stable. In fact, it can become stable, or you can light a lamp, small lamp or a candle in a dark room, and you can sit and you look at that flame, Trataka. So there are different kinds of exercises. Or you can put a picture, a yantra like Sri Yantra or something, or you can have a red point or a circle. Then you mark that particular thing and you can sit. And the location of that point in that map or that paper that you're using should be at the exact height where your eyes are there. Because otherwise, what happens? You're looking like this or this. So there is some bit of an imbalance in your body. So you'll feel some pain here. So you have to find out exactly at what level your eyes are there, and exactly at that level you make a red point and you sit in meditation, or you look at your nose, whatever. These are exercises. So in the Kriya Yoga tradition, if you go, they will have some props like it is T-shaped, wooden thing, T-shaped. So they put it between their thighs and they sit on a chair and they support their hands like this to do the pranayama because they have to do it for a longer period. Sometimes they do it. You can go to the Kriya Yoga ashrams wherever they are, and you will see that these props will also be there. So these kinds of instrumentalities or ways to establish yourself are used in the yogic processes. He's saying, look here, that is not how the game begins. Because now it's about your own consciousness, how to modulate your consciousness to establish yourself in a realized state. He's saying what? Drishtim jnanamayim kritva. You fill your perceptions, fill your vision with the truth of the ultimate Brahman, the ultimate reality. That is the destination. Get the large picture, as they call. So in the companies, the CEO comes and says, never forget the big picture, why we are here together as part of a team. We want to achieve something. The balance sheets and projects and PowerPoint presentations and board meetings, these are small ends, day-to-day activities. These are like shopkeeping activities, shop management activities. What are the right thing that you're going to achieve? What is the big picture? They tell you. In Vedanta, what is the big picture? The Brahman. The big picture is one which has no picture, which has no name and form. That is the big picture. So he's saying, Drishtim Jnanamayim Kritva Pasyad Brahmamayam Jagat. The Jagat, whole samsara, is pervaded by the Brahman. That have to that in your mind. Sa drishtihi paromodara. And that perception, that vision, that Drik Chaitanya, that vision, paromodara, that is excellent. Don't ever compare that. No nasagra balokini. So I'm going to sit like this and look at this. Where will you go? A lot of people have done it for donkey years. Doesn't mean that if you just read a few Vedantic sentences, you're going to touch heaven or you're going to touch the Brahman. He will make fun of this also. Only reading doesn't take us anywhere. We have to have that adventure of actually orienting and practicing and reaching there. So, if you look at the commentary, it's very simple. What he's trying to say in the verse number, Drik sthitim lakhyeti drishtim. Okay, na nasagra balokini, 116. Brahmanaha phala vyaptyatva abhavepi. You see, phala vyapti is not there. You don't see the sun with the torchlight. The mind cannot reflect, cannot have an image of Brahman in it. That is phala vyapti abhavepi. Vritti vyaptyatvat. So you will have chitta vritti. Brahmakara vritti will never be there. That is called vritti vyaptyatvat. Drishtim antakarana vritti. What is drishti here? What is the vision? Antakarana vritti. Some business, your mind is doing some business. What is that business? Business of thinking, meditating on the Brahman, Brahmakar vritti. Jnanamayim akhanda brahmakaram kritva. This business of your mind, you invest this business of your mind only in Brahman, meditating on the Brahman. Kritva jagat sarvam brahmamayam pashyet. So you are only thinking about Brahman, everything is Brahman in samsara. Everything, say, they say Krishna everywhere. You see Vasudevam Sarvamiti, everything is Vasudeva. That is the ultimate thing. He's saying Sa Mahatma Sudullabha, Bhagavan said. He's one in a million, one in billion actually. So Bhagavan says that in Bhagavad Gita. Jagat Sarva Brahmamayam Pasyat. Brahma eva idam sarvam. Iti etavana matra eva vrittihi karya iti bhavaha. So everything is Brahman only. That is how we should try to focus on the ultimate reality. The appearances will be there. Appearances will always be there. Water bubbles will be there. Ocean is true. The water bubble is mortal up to the point it thinks of itself only as a water bubble. The moment it thinks I'm the ocean, it's liberated. The bubble will burst. The ocean is there. Water bubble is in that form or not. It was water, it shall be water. The moment the water bubble realizes I'm water, it is free from the fear of being burst. So far, we are caught up with this idea that we're a man or a woman and we have so many years to go and we're going to go, we'll become old and we'll die. Fear of death, all this is problematic. The moment we realize we are pure, We are Sachidananda Swarupa, we are pure consciousness. Old age, so what? Childhood, so what? Youth, so what? What is the difference? That consciousness hasn't changed, shall not change. That itself loosens the grip of fear of death on our consciousness. And so he's saying that is the right drishti, that is the right vision to have. Then he expands it in the next verse in the 117. Drishti darshana drishyanam viramo yatra va bhavet drishti tatriva kartavya nana sagrava lokini. He's again making fun of this whole thing that you meditate on the tip of your nose. Look at it. He's saying, no, that's not the right vision for self-realization. What is it? Drishti darshana drishyanam viramo. Drishti, the jnata, drik chaitanya, the knower. And then what? Darshana, the process of knowing. And then what? Drishya, the object of perception. The triputi. Dhyata, dhyana, and dhya. Knower, process of knowing, and the known, object of knowledge. When viramo bhavet, where all this come to a standstill. When did they come to a standstill? When in deep meditation on the Brahman, we vanish, our meditation vanishes. What remains is Brahma. We are also there meditating. Yeah, we are there meditating, and then we assume and we are non distinct from that Brahman. The whole thing has become Brahman. Like they will say, you know, you put a solid piece of salt in water. What happens to that salt? It becomes water. Then how do you know what a salt exists or not? You test the water, it's salty. It exists, but it has assumed the appearance of water. Salt exists, but it has become water. The jiva exists, the consciousness exists, the chitta vritti will exist, but it will have the form of, it suddenly assumes, because of that Brahmakara vritti is non-distinct from Brahman. That is the most beautiful aspect of it. And he's saying that drishti eva kartabhya. That is what we should try to practice. That vision we should try to practice. Not to sit like this and looking at the tip of your nose and thinking that my mind is supremely concentrated. And then one fine evening, God will come and wake me up and give me a lot of boons. No, that's not the truth. That is what he mentioned in the verse number 117. And then in the verse now he's saying, there's an interesting commentary. No, tathapi brahmani buddhi prabitta nimitta yatyadi abhavat. In the Brahman, the vritti, there's prabritti nimittaka. So if there's a pen, I can speak a word, I can think about it. There is a vyakti, there is a jati, there is a class of things, there is some color, guna, or some karma, it's moving. All these things are not there in the Brahman. So how can you have any meditation on it? Abhavat indriyadi pratyakya vishasya jagatah brahma rupetvena darshanam kathanam syad. I am looking at a pen and a book and all that. I can see this laptop, I can hear your voices, I can at least see your presence and all kinds of things I'm being able to see. But the Brahman doesn't have any reason to have any prabriti of my mind or words. It's avang manashogochar. It doesn't have, it's not a class of things, it doesn't have any qualities, it doesn't have any kriya. So in this kind of a state, how can the sansara appear like Brahman? It is nirguna nirakara, sansara has a name and form. How can this be that? If that is the doubt, he's answering. He's saying, Sabda Pachantare, Drishti Ityadina, Sotradi Sarva Triputinam, Upalakshanam, Yatra Jasmin Brahma Surupe. He's saying, no, I am telling you about a mode of meditation where the meditator and the meditation get dissolved in the object of meditation, and they become the object of meditation, which is the Brahman. And that is what he's saying. Yasmin Brahma Surupe Drishtyadi Sarvatriputinam Viramo Layo Bhavet Tatra Tasmin Eva Prapanchatite Drishtihi Antakarna Vritti Kartavya. So it's not that sansara is going to vanish. You are not destroying this sansara. You are not bombing this reality. You are not doing any of these. You are actually fine-tuning your meditation to that extent that you are no more carefully conscious about your egoistic existence, and that willful act of meditation, the whole thing has turned into the object of meditation, which is the Brahman. And the Brahman is not an object, is not a quality, is not a name, is not a form. What is it? It is that pure consciousness. And there is where you experience that. In that luminosity is not physical light. Brahman is Swayam Prakash, it's not physical light, it's not like sun, even though compared with the sun. It is that pure consciousness. When everything goes, it remains. And that is what he's saying. You try to have that. That is the goal of having that drishti. It's not about looking at your nose. Then finally, in the verse number, pranayama. You have these breathing exercises. You have rechaka, puraka, and kumbhaka. Rechaka is, flushing out air from your body. Puraka is filling it up. Kumbhaka is holding it. You have Bahya Kumbhaka, you have Antar Kumbhaka. When you hold air within, it's called Antar Kumbhaka. You have Bahya Kumbhaka when you have breathed out and you are maintaining some silence for some time. There's a very tricky yogic exercise. In Gheranda Samhita, there is a emphasis on the Bahya Kumbhaka. So once you have breathed out, you must pause the breathing for a few seconds, and you have to, with the proper guidance, you can practice it. So what is he saying here? Pranayama he's mentioning in the verse number 118. Oh, sorry. I've just crossed the time. We'll move forward on 118 onwards of the time. So we'll stop here. Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Sri Gurubhyo Namaha Hari Om Tat Sat. So, I just wanted to discuss about tomorrow.